we didn't know what to do watching it. It was probably one of the most shocking presidential debates by far I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, no, our son, who's almost 15, was watching it.
I don't have COVID.
Wow. I mean, there's nobody even here with us. Like, there's no chance of them getting it. Like, you're way further than 6 feet away.
Every
right
time
now.
I cough, I feel like I see.
You do. Okay.
I'm like, well, I don't think I do.
Like, you're so social distancing from these people right now.
I am.
Okay.
You're safe. You're
Yeah.
safe, viewers and listeners.
You're safe with us. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show.
Good job recovering.
Happy Wednesday. We this aired once and then it just locked up and disconnected, and so this is take two. But yeah, happy Wednesday evening to you, wherever you're at.
Or if you're listening on happy whenever, if you're listening on the podcast.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wherever you're driving to,
Yeah.
wherever you're working out, those types of things. It's Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We have a different type of wine tonight, which I thought you would love.
Not a rosé.
It's not a rosé or a Sauvignon Blanc. I mean, at some point, it's like, are we going to keep doing the same wine? So this is a Chateauneuf de Pape.
Ooh, that's fun to say.
Yeah, Chateauneuf de Pape. I actually don't know what that means. It's some type of chateau of the Pape region or something. But this is a Gabriel Mayfray. Chateauneuf de Papes are, for varietals, this is usually what we call a GSM blend, which is Grenache, Syrah, and a grape called Mourvedre. So,
Are you reading that, or do you
I just know
that?
that.
You do?
Yeah, I just know that.
Because you're cool like that. You just know it.
Yeah. So the Grenache you get kind of like a little. It's a really unique blend because the Grenache you get this kind of fruity strawberry-ish. It's kind of fruit forward. The Syrah you get this like smoky kind of spiciness with. I mean, you like Syrahs actually because of that.
Definitely.
And then
especially with pizza.
Yeah, and then the Mourvedre gives it like this kind of silkiness. So they tend to be kind of silkier, but this one's got like a lot of black fruits, blackberry type stuff.
It does smell nice.
Does
Cheers.
it? Cheers. Yeah, I mean, it smells super good. I mean, French wine's a little bit more
Acidic. It has a bite.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit more like the less fruit forward. What is the word I'm looking for? I just lost it. So,
is it lighter tannins?
Yeah,
Not as big of tannins,
right. This is going to be lighter to medium body, but it should be pretty silky. It still has big tannins. It's lighter, medium body, but really good structure to it. Like, you kind of get that mouth, like, all over your mouth. Mm-hmm. Dryness, like, just sucking the spit out of your mouth.
Makes you want to swallow a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, for a French wine, that's actually really tasty.
Yeah. You get a little, like, beef jerky kind of smokiness in there, but beef jerky covered with, like, some strawberry jam. That's your thing. So...
It's good. How was your week? Or would you like me to go first?
No, I don't care. Good.
You kind of had a. Sorry, go ahead. How was your week, Josh Scott? How are you?
What were you gonna say?
Well, we were just a few minutes ago just talking about all the calls and all the things. Yep. It's been really fast paced and a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, last week. I'm looking at my calendar here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. No, yeah, 21 different phone calls, meetings, something in the week, which is a lot. So I'm talking a lot right now.
You are. You're using up all your words.
I am. I barely had enough left for this show.
It's true. Oh, you're killing it. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
We probably have some, I don't know. The whole life balance thing, that conversation is so funny. I don't even know what that means anymore. I'm not sure achieving balance is the goal. I think you need we all just have to adapt to the time we're living in or the season and prioritize what is most dear to us or most important.
Yeah, and there's two unique things happening right now. One is there's so much stuff going on in evenings. It's crazy, like kind of post-COVID and the dental profession. That's like one of the things that's happened is everybody's working in the day, like trying to catch up, and big demand right now in dentistry. So everybody's like nonstop working. So then everything's going to at night, like virtual conferences, interviews, podcasts, groups, like consulting, like it's all going to the evenings. So I routinely right now have 3 nights a week that I work with stuff.
Yeah.
Which is less than desirable.
One of them is for you though.
Yeah, it's like a group I'm involved in.
Yeah. And I cover for you. I support you fully because it's been life-giving for you.
Yeah.
So
that, and then we're in the season of hiring too, which just for for you even more, but for me and some of our team, it takes.
We call our HR team the talent team.
Yeah.
And there's really 4 of us on it, and the front end of vetting out candidates and all of that is it's really time consuming. So it does feel like an extra job for all of us, especially 3 of us on the team.
When we go in the hiring mode, and because we want to do a good job at it too, like it's a serious process. We take our time, we don't skip steps, and
well, my high from the week this past week, last Sunday, I actually had this moment where I sat up in my bed Sunday morning, and I had this, like, not a premonition or really a dream, but it was just this feeling my kids are almost out of the house.
Yeah.
They're going to be gone. I started thinking about how fast the years are going, and Caden is turning 15 in November. There's, time is fleeting, right? I'm sure there are so many other parents that are feeling that. And I packed everybody up and we went pumpkin picking to a local farm, local to New Albany, Ohio. And we had so much fun. And they actually had a really great field of pumpkins. It was really beautiful and healthy, and we lucked out on the weather. It was beautiful. It was perfect that morning. Look at my kiddos. That's Aaliyah.
The bangs.
Yeah. I did get them both to smile.
And then our little adult that's now living in the house. Our adult boy.
Yeah.
So, what was interesting though is watching the pumpkins that the kids did pick, because they definitely don't like the perfect little round or big round orange ones.
I know.
Yeah.
Which those are really great for carving, because of the just the size and like it's not depth, it's the height of them. Yeah. It's better for carving. But I love that our kids, they pick all of the eclectic pumpkins. So Aaliyah likes to call them rainbowed, but they have an array of colors on them. Or I love the white, like flatter ones. And Caden loved the really, really dark, super cool green ones.
Yeah.
I mean, so
they wanted to find a black pumpkin actually, but they just don't really exist.
The dark green is almost there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really dark. It's so amazing. I love, I love things that aren't like, that have their own uniqueness,
Yeah.
So I think it's cool when you see your kids just kind of go for that. And so our porch is kind of eclectic looking.
Yeah, for sure. What have you been up to lately? Like, what have you been watching? What have you been reading? What's been entertaining you recently?
So, if I'm being honest, I haven't had very much time to be consuming books and reading. So that's been a struggle for me. And it might have something to do with the fact that the guys have ESPN on or whatever. And I don't know. I want us to all be together, but then if I want to read, I can't do it when, loud football or basketball is on, and I would have to go retreat to my room. So anyways, we have been watching a really cool show called the Eco Challenge. It's an adventure racing show, and it's amazing. Bear Grylls is the host, and actually Mark Burnett, he created the show like 25 years ago, and that's how he got started in his career, which I just found that out.
That's interesting.
So the Eco Challenge is the world's toughest race.
Yeah.
And they require 4 team members, and you have to have someone of opposite gender on there, at least one of them. And it's this expedition against the clock to win $100,000. And it's all international teams.
Which doesn't seem like enough money.
I would agree.
I mean, when we watched, it was last night's episode, the team won, and they did it in about...
And they're in Fiji right now, yeah.
And the winning team, who these are like professional Eco Challenge or Adventure Challenge racers, it took them about 7 days.
Right. Some of them are Ironman.
For $100,000, by the time you take taxes out of that, because it's prize money...
You split it 4 ways?
Yeah, I think you're getting maybe 60,000 of that, and then you got to split it 4 ways. I'm like, you got $15,000 for 7 days of racing.
Yes, New Zealand won.
Yeah, one of the New Zealand teams. Yeah.
Oh, was there more than one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One of the teams, New Zealand Kiwi teams, won, and they probably should have earned $1 million. I mean, it's crazy what they go through.
I know. So, I'm like, Survivor is like $1 million. Like all these shows are $1 million, and then yet something that's really, really tough is $100,000.
Yeah, but they do them at all of these very, I don't know. The next one is, I don't know.
Oh, I was like, where?
Patagonia. What is it?
Oh, Patagonia. Yeah.
Oh, I'm right. Okay,
yeah,
Patagonia. Yeah. I felt like I was going to say that incorrectly. And right now they're in Fiji finishing up. So very somewhat tropical, remote places. Anyways, fascinating show. If you are a Survivor fan or an Amazing Race fan, this is sort of both of those shows together on steroids.
Yeah.
Steroids.
Yeah. Put it together.
It is.
It is.
It's really great. I think I would recommend for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We've been doing nothing but watching basketball and some football, but the LA Lakers are in the finals now.
Well, tell us about that game
with the Miami Heat.
Okay. So I know we recently watched a game with the Lakers and Heat. It did not. They played a really poor game. Yeah. You guys were really upset.
Yeah.
Hayden and Josh were upset.
Yeah, it was a bad game. I think it was game 3. Lakers had a chance to go up 3-0.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, look, the fact is LeBron James is going to win his 4th championship here, and whether it's they're up 3-1, so whether it's Friday night they close it out, or whether it's Sunday night in Game 6, but it won't go 7 games. But it's just been fun watching him because the dude is it's just crazy. I mean, he's going to get his 4th. He may end up getting a 5th or a 6th, and all this conversation about Michael Jordan, him, and who's the greatest, and all this stuff. It's just it's just interesting. Right now, everybody's like, oh, MJ's the greatest because he has 6 championships and LeBron has 3. And that's a compelling argument, but as we hit 4, 5, and 6, then you kind of don't have that anymore. But
yeah.
So we're witnessing greatness.
Well, yeah, that's historical.
Yeah, it is.
History in the making.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's really cool. Well, let's see. Current situation.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There's a lot of stuff going on. What's been the most fascinating, maddening, crazy thing you've seen in the past week? We know what our top pick is, but what's yours?
Oh, you're asking them? I thought you were asking me.
I just wonder if we're on the same page.
I was going to say, I feel like you're setting me up for the answer being the first presidential debate.
Mm-hmm. We are not discussing who we are for or against or anything like that. This isn't a political conversation. Come on. This is we didn't know what to do watching it. It was probably one of the most shocking presidential debates by far I have ever seen in my life. And I actually really geek out on watching them. I love them.
Yeah, no, our son, who's almost 15, was watching it.
I don't have COVID.
Wow. I mean, there's nobody even here with us. Like, there's no chance of them getting it. Like, you're way further than 6 feet away.
Every time I cough, I feel like I'm safe.
You do? Okay.
I'm like, well, I don't think I do.
Like, you're so social distancing from these people right now.
I am.
Okay.
You're safe. You're safe, viewers and listeners.
You're safe with us. No, our son, who's 15, he was, he stays up a little bit later, so he was watching part of the debates with us because they start at 9, but closer to 10, I take him up to go to bed. And he was like, "Are debates always like that?" And I'm like, "Oh no, no."
Buddy.
I was like, they probably just started getting like the 2016. It was definitely pushing that, but 2020, yeah. 2020 is like a whole different deal right now. So when we were watching it on CNN and when it cut back to the host, his literally first words out of his mouth were, "That was a hot mess inside of a dumpster fire, inside of a train wreck." And I thought that was pretty brilliant.
Yeah, so the popular tagline going around is, "There were no winners, America lost."
Yeah.
Now, we're trying to have a little fun because
Sadie says, "It's okay, Joanna, you're so far away from us."
Sadie.
She's like, "It's okay if you cough.
Why is mine not like
We're not going to get anything." I'm trying to tell her that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're just trying to lighten things up a bit, and there's so much negativity and everything around.
Yeah. Do you think that debate actually helped anybody?
I do not.
Yeah.
No. And actually, I think that regardless of which camp you are in, where you fall on all of the issues, and, with both of these guys, I do not believe that you can tell the president, or should the president of the United States, to shut up, man, or call.
You don't think so?
I'm thinking maybe I'm a little bit old school with respect, and I'm huge into speaking up and finding your voice and everything, and social justice and doing the right thing, and
So you don't feel like calling the president a clown is?
I almost felt like I needed to explain something to my kids watching it.
This
I was like, "This is
not
not
how we talk to
family
a president."
No. This would never happen with everything post-COVID, but if we ever went to the White House, never say that.
You're the worst president in history, man.
Oh my gosh. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was.
That was a
something.
little, but even Trump's blows to
Yeah.
Biden's son and family, that was just low and unnecessary.
Yeah.
So
his son who has passed away,
not okay. On both sides, really. I just would feel equally.
Well, there's a sense of Trump even doing, absolutely doing that on purpose, but just like poking and just like relentless, to try to get some of that. I think the Trump party knew that could be a weakness in Biden, right?
Yeah.
And they're trying to. I think the moment Biden's like, "Shut up, you're a clown," I think the Trump party's like, "Oh yeah, that's what we wanted."
Yeah, right.
So, but you made a comment earlier. We were with our team today about even like Nixon and JFK, even though they were some pretty bitter kind of political rivals, about how they handled their debates.
Yeah. Well, I was actually talking with a couple of my friends yesterday, and she mentioned it and said that either a friend or someone, she was in a conversation with someone talking about the Kennedy-Nixon debate and just how far we've come from the diplomacy that, lived in that debate, the respect they had for one another, even though they were such differing opponents. There was still this presidential sense about the, surrounding the conversation. So I found that very intriguing. I do feel that it did not help undecided voters move in any direction. And I've talked with multiple people to kind of gather some data on that. So that's interesting. I would agree with that. I think that people left feeling probably more confused.
Yeah, and I don't know, just like the state of the nation. Like we're just coming through COVID. We're not even through it. It's like kind of this like battered, like beat down. Like we're all weary. We're all tired. And I think to just have that show from our leadership, I don't know. It's like you just wish somebody takes a bigger picture approach and stands up and says, I'm going to lead through this.
Yeah.
So
I think that there's an opportunity for the rest of there's the vice presidential debate tonight.
Oh, tonight, yeah.
Yes, so I'm super, who's that?
DoorDash.
Oh man, I hope it's not Amazon Prime, then I have to go over there.
Oh.
So, yes, we all should be watching that. I don't know if it is. I don't think it is. It's probably just DoorDash.
So we should all be watching the vice presidential debate tonight. What else? Like, where do we go from here? Like, what do you think?
So,
yeah, it was DoorDash.
Okay. Regardless of Come on, this is
Sorry,
2020.
just family management
This
here.
is how we manage our lives. Amazon Prime or DoorDash. They're both very welcome on our doorstep. We love you all. Okay, so we got our absentee ballots in the mail. By the way, it is not too late. And
I think it might be for absentee ballots, though, isn't it?
I think they have until, I thought they had until the 12th.
Oh, maybe it was registering the vote we're past those deadlines.
Yeah, I think you can still get an absentee ballot. You can double check me on that, fact check me. However, I just wanted to encourage everyone, get out and vote. I actually am not in either camp, and I still have some figuring out to do. So that's full disclosure for everyone here. However, I was recently doing a little research and reminding myself of all of the amazing people that have fought so hard for our freedoms, our democratic freedoms, and so that we have the right to, choose the leadership in this country. But also up until 1919, women have fought so long and hard to earn the right and privilege to vote. And I feel as a fellow woman, it would be a disgrace for me to not take advantage of that opportunity and that freedom.
Yeah.
And also, reminder, the Voting Rights Act of 1965,
Whoa.
history lesson, was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson, and it removed the legal barriers so that Black Americans could exercise their rights to vote and amend the 15th Amendment. So we all just can't take this work for granted, right? Where we need to...
Men can probably take it for granted because we've been doing it longer. And honestly, if you're looking for a ballot, $500 right here.
Stop
I'll give it to you.
No, my gosh, you're terrible.
the mail-in fraud that could be happening, real deal. So
You're something.
hey, tonight we wanted to start kind of a two-part series. I think we're back next week, right? We've got these back-to-back, maybe, possibly. Who knows? We won't plan that far out. Okay, so we've got a two-part series here around Airway Health, and some of this was because it just became too big for one episode. So we thought tonight we would kind of address it with our kids. But there's been a story here, and we've been traveling to Arkansas to see a specialist about this, and yeah, so kick it over to you and kind of intro the whole thing.
You might hear me say this a couple times. I am in the process of learning this space. And I guess I need you to understand the information that I'm sharing here. I'm sharing with humility and in the place of we're learning this as we go. And so we're literally, pulling from amazing resources and books and things that we've just discovered this year and really end of last year. And but I think that it's worth it for us to share our story because it's also so brand new to us. And if it helps someone, it's worth it. And so I think that's kind of my disclaimer for this conversation.
Yeah.
Because we know and love so many clinicians that are so amazing and so much more educated on this stuff than us. However, all four of us are on this journey together. And so I do feel that it's important to, have a dialogue about what we're experiencing and learning. Yeah.
And I mean, you got to a point personally where you had a lot going on in this area. And at the time, I don't know that we realized it was caused by airway issues.
Right.
You want to talk about some of the symptoms that...
Well, for the past decade, I have increasingly been dealing with insomnia, anxiety, gut health issues, TMJ, grinding, just tension, constant tension. And 2 years ago, my TMJ was I think it was 2 or 3. It was so bad that I lost the ability to speak. My vocal cords just gave out on me. I'm not someone who's ever been prone to laryngitis or anything like that. And I remember trying to lead this event and my voice just gave out and I had shooting pain just riveting through my jaw to my head. And I had to excuse myself from the event and basically stop working and go home. And I knew something was deeply wrong, and I kind of just kept sweeping all of these symptoms, under the rug for years until now.
Yeah, until it finally just kind of, which is how TMJ ends up anyway, is most people deal with it, and then all of a sudden they wake up one day and it's like excruciating pain,
Yes.
and it just like
Severe.
almost kind of tips over the edge.
What have you dealt with?
Yeah, I mean, I've dealt with just sleep apnea, knowing, I think the last, I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago or so, I noticed it more. I noticed my airway getting tighter, especially as I was sleeping. I think some of that was I actually put on kind of some upper body weight, aka muscle. No, but that's like a typical profile of sleep apnea in men is kind of the bigger chest, bigger neck.
Can be.
Yeah, because all that kind of just sits back and closes the airway. And so I noticed when I was sleeping, if I just and this is a little hack for those of you guys out here, when you lay back on your back at night in bed, and you breathe in through your nose, but then if you push your jaw forward and just your lower jaw, just push it forward and breathe in again, and if you feel that airway open up significantly, then you can kind of get a handle and a feel for like how restricted it gets. And so I ended up I'm just not sleeping good. I know that. Like I'm grinding, I'm clenching, because what happens is your body knows it's not getting enough oxygen, so you start clenching to almost like try to keep your mouth in a position to open the airway and like hold it there, but you can't because you're sleeping. And then you lose oxygen, and your body releases adrenaline to kind of like hey, we're gonna die. And then you wake up and you stay awake for 2 or 3 hours and you can't get back to sleep.
Right.
And so a lot of those signs, like even waking up in the middle of the night, like every night I wake up at like 3 o'clock, 3:30, and I can't get back to sleep for a couple hours. I'm like, you had a little dose of adrenaline right there for some reason.
Right.
And it got your mind going, and it's keeping you up. So like, what is that? Because if your airway's restricted and your body's like, hey, we're not getting enough air. So yeah, I went to, a specialist here in Columbus, got a sleep apnea device. It just pushes your jaw forward at night. That helped immensely. I mean, I noticed it right away. And I tell people it's almost like you're on the highway going 70 miles an hour, but you're in third gear. Like that's like what dealing with sleep apnea is like. You're running. It's like everything's just grinding. It's high heat. It's just lots of friction. And when I got that, it was finally it took a couple months, but it was just like, oh man, sleeping better. My body's recovering. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, that restorative sleep that is so important.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about how this all started and kind of who some of our key people are and how we met. I don't know if you want to share,
go
share
for
that,
it. I
or
mean,
you want me to dive in?
Some of this started progressing because we worked with a client, Dan O'Rourke, with Dentistry's Optimal Model, an online kind of clinical program, but met them in 2017. They came down and...
Yeah, we did a content session for them, and he immediately noticed some issues, and I think because of his, because of what they do, we were constantly getting into conversations with him and learning so much from him. And he was so he's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the approach that they use for airway health. And he noticed, some things in me, and we just started really having a dialogue and conversation about how I could be treated or what that would look like in the future, getting evaluated. And we met his clinical director, Dr. Randy Lays, and his wife Jackie, and they are amazing. They're in Arkansas. And when they came to Columbus, though, we started interacting with them, and it just seemed like a really good fit. And it was someone that could take the Dentistry's Optimal Model, this airway health model, but apply it with us.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like our go-to practitioner.
Yeah, because I mean, up until that point, your options were going to be more surgical, more long-term orthodontics, like traditional orthodontics. And while we were willing to go that route, it was also like, we know so many professionals in the dental space. I was like, I
wanted a second opinion.
Yeah.
Before being 44 years old, I didn't know that I wanted to spend 2 years with a mouthful of braces. And I also was not convinced that was going to be the end-all solution.
Yeah.
I felt like there was more involved.
Yeah. So, I mean, it started with a trip down to Arkansas, Rogers, Northwest Arkansas. You know, there's not a whole lot there. I mean,
No.
Walmart kind of runs that town, like Bentonville.
Yeah.
It's right there.
But we know it very well, and now we have
Now
our
we
burger
know.
spot that we go to.
Yeah. Burger
Right
and
when
fries.
we land, we go
Parkside
straight there.
Public. Shout out to Parkside Public.
You guys are killing it.
Hamburgers
They
and
take
beer.
such good care of us. All our gluten stuff.
We fly in and go
gluten-free.
straight there for
We do,
burgers.
because they
and-
close early.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, we got, all four of us got an evaluation from them. We're going to talk about more about our just kind of treatment next week.
yeah.
But tonight we thought we would just start with kind of the kids and
Right.
what they're doing.
And their evaluations, really just a summary. We now know that they have issues with tongue tie, tongue placement, poor sleep, and then like palate crowding. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're on a track to preventative health for them and correcting some of these things that they have been evaluated for. And just a little bit of what I've been learning. I will reference, this book is amazing.
Yeah, and I can throw it up here too.
Yeah. Shout out to Lay's Dentistry for giving us this book. And then also
They
Jack-
didn't write the book, but they gave it to us. And,
Yeah,
and
and I
I've
know-
actually seen this in a couple of other of our clients' practices too.
Yes, I know a lot of dentists really love and support this philosophy and approach. But it's by Dr. Michael Gelb and Dr. Howard Hinden. So it's a collaboration on Airway Health.
Yeah.
Anyways, because I was so green with all of this, I didn't really actually know what airway, like an airway center disorder was. And just for, humor me, it's a psychological disorder of the mouth, jaw.
Physiological.
Physiological.
Which, yeah, you knew. Yeah.
Sometimes I think
It's
I
a psychological
might have a
disorder of the jaw.
Thank you. Thank you.
What does
honey.
that mean? Sometimes I think my jaw
has
is
a mind.
closed, and sometimes I think it's open.
Oh man, I shouldn't, docs. I shouldn't be the one having this conversation. I
No,
realize
you're
that.
awesome. It's just,
But
those
here
words
we
look
go.
very similar. I just
They
wanted to
do.
make sure that we were
Okay.
Physiological.
It's a physiological disorder of
Yeah.
the mouth, jaw, nasal passages, tongue, or throat that it involves the obstruction of the upper airways and in turn leads to breathing difficulties, including mouth breathing, snoring, sleep apnea, hypoapneas, and upper airway resistance.
hypopneas.
So
You say
we're
hypopneas. I
off
say
to a great start. Potato.
hypoapneas.
Again, I'm still learning. You can't make fun of me. You're so mean. This is not going to go well. I can already tell.
I'm making fun of you.
You've been in dental longer than me. Have some grace. My gosh. Now I don't know. Actually, I don't feel like vulnerable or embarrassed. I think that
No, you
all
shouldn't.
of our dental friends, they're so kind and they're fine that I'm learning and I'm trying to do my best with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You probably have them all laughing right now.
Well, okay, then mission accomplished. All right. Anyways, this can affect our breathing 24 hours a day. So, insomnia. I just want to really quickly, anybody who's watching or listening, just think to yourself or drop a comment. How many of you deal with it? Deal with insomnia or poor sleep, and you wake up in the middle of the night like he is describing. From my conversations with people and history of relationships, I know very few people who tell me they sleep very deep and amazing and wake up feeling refreshed.
Yeah.
And for over, like you described your kind of experience with sleep for over a decade, if not longer, I have always felt like I wake up, I do the same thing at 3 or 4, and I think it's because I have a busy brain and I just don't know how to shut it down. And so I would meditate and like calm myself down or journal or, all of the things that you hear. Well, get it out of your brain, write it down, and then go back to sleep. None of that would ever work for me. And
Because that busy brain is being triggered by
the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And lack of air or oxygen.
Yeah.
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 So figuring that out and also being able to recognize what a sleep breathing disorder symptoms, what those look like, was very significant for me, because then I thought, it's not just that I'm not meditating enough, I'm not breathing enough. I mean, here's a revelation for you or for
Right.
me. So a few signs of a sleep breathing disorder issue or airway issue would be headache, snoring, difficulty sleeping, neck, jaw, or ear pain, junk food cravings, obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, difficulty focusing mentally, excessive daytime sleepiness, low energy, and waking up feeling unrefreshed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're waking up in the morning and you've got those symptoms and you wake up and you never quite feel refreshed, I mean, this could literally be something that's happening. I don't know if you know this, but like, what's the best position you should be sleeping in?
Oh, shoot. I think doesn't it depend on what you're dealing with? I think for sleep apnea, I thought it was your sides.
Yeah. Actually, it's your sides. But sleeping on your back is like the worst position you can sleep in.
Right.
And
if you're pregnant, you're supposed to sleep on the left side. So I've always just kind of catered to that side.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, I just mean like lots of people sleep on their back, and just knowing like that when you do that, kind of all that tissue just kind of falls back. And especially the older you get, it's just like there's more of it sometimes. It's not as strong, so it just kind of all starts to sit back. And so it could be just even that of if you're a back sleeper and you snore, or you're a back sleeper and you're not waking up refreshed, it's just like start to train yourself to sleep on your side, sleep on your stomach, like those types of things, to just even open up that airway. And if you can do that, sometimes people just feel better doing that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting and true.
Yeah,
I think I do sleep better on my sides.
Yeah.
Can you summarize really this airway health approach? And I know dentistry's optimal, speaking of jaw issues and articulating words, struggling, but I'm fixing it. That messes with me.
No, it's the solution is really looking at airway health as a whole, and so many of our clients are getting into this space, and I love it. I think it's super interesting. Every time I have a phone call with one, initially they're like, hey, so you probably don't have a lot of guys doing this, but this is just revolutionary, and we're going down this road. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like airway health, you know, and and I can actually talk about it somewhat intelligently with them. And so it's.
Can you talk about it psychologically intelligently?
Psychologically and physiologically intelligence, but it's really more of a bigger picture, like what we would call like comprehensive or holistic view of the patient. And really kind of bringing in multiple healthcare providers in what is actually disease prevention, because so much of this down the road, you restrict oxygen for 8 hours a day over the course of X amount of years, like it just creates other things.
Yeah, it's a very integrative approach. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's a No, I was just saying it leads to other issues. This is like, when you don't sleep and you don't get that restorative sleep, inflammation, the headaches are inflammation that's happening, cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
I was through a phase there where it was like I was working out and not ever making any progress and just feeling exhausted. And when I sleep good, it's like I make gains. I feel better. I come out of the workouts. I'm like,
yeah.
So, and I dealt with, so much inflammation for years. And so, and I look back and tried all the different supplements, tried all the different like oils, all the different like things. And it came back to it's sleep, and you will never overcome that with anything else.
Yeah.
And once I started sleeping really good and enough, then I was like, the inflammation just kind of settles down. So it's more of an integrative approach. It's more of just kind of medicine and dental together, coming together. And so I think it's even like physicians and dentists and healthcare providers, and allowing dentists and orthodontists and people who have this expertise a seat at the table in the treatment as well.
I'd like to dive into just kind of the why behind this with my own daughter, Aaliyah, and I'll just share with you some of the things that I started to notice with her on a day-to-day basis. Yeah,
because this started off about us, but then we were like, hey, there's some things here with our kids too.
I started to notice that Aaliyah had really dark bags under her eyes all the time, and actually Kaden, but even more significantly with her, that she wasn't sleeping well, but I wasn't exactly sure. She just was waking up very tired, very fatigued through the day. I didn't know really what to do other than what I had already been doing, which was a good diet, heading to bed early.
Right.
You know, supplements, loud fans. We're huge into like sleep noise, and diffusers with oils and putting oils on them. Right, all these things, and. Well, I don't know. And both my kids, both our kids have food allergies on top of it. And so I already felt like I had done all the things. I've already taken out gluten and dairy. What else can I possibly take out to help them sleep better and feel better? And so learning more about the importance of sleep and then some of these signs to watch for improper sleep has been very significant. And so I'm just going to share. Are you leaving?
No, I was just grabbing something.
A couple interesting statistics that I found recently this week, but the National Sleep Foundation surveyed parents found rates of sleep disordered breathing in children as high as 18 to 19%. So a lot of our kids are dealing with it.
1 in 5 are
right.
having some sleep issues.
That's pretty significant. Obviously, these are things that I think most of us understand or sound familiar. Sleep plays an important role in brain development for children. Young children with an issue with sleep may develop, a learning debt that can hamper school performance, and obstructive sleep apnea can actually lower a child's IQ by 10 points. Yeah. Wow, I did not know that. Airway obstruction is linked to attention deficit and deficit disorders, hyperactivity,
ADHD,
learning, learning disabilities, allergies, asthma, and inflammatory disease and behavioral issues. Yeah. So those are things sometimes we treat the symptom instead of getting to the root cause, and that is really what this integrative approach for airway health is all about doing.
So there's some signs to look for, and and the first one for me is the most obvious, and it's actually what tipped us off to there could be an issue with Aaliyah.
Right. Mouth breathing.
Yeah.
So something else that I've learned is that mouth breathing should only be done in an emergency. If you lose
or if you're working out really hard.
We need to breathe through our noses. I have never done that. I've always been a mouth breather.
Yeah.
When we started working with Dr. Randy Lays and went out for our first consult, they asked me to take a photo of Aaliyah while she was sleeping. And I did, and discovered that she is a mouth breather. I never knew that. If you don't go in and creep on your kids and take a photo while they're sleeping, she's right there. You know, I sent it to them, and they go, "We need to evaluate her more and get to the bottom of this." A couple of other things really quickly, parents, that you can look for. So check the mouth breathing, but these are some other signs: opened or slacked mouth, snoring or noisy sleep. Also, like if you go into your kid's room and the bed is destroyed, then you need to ask why or find out why. Yep. If we're having deep restorative sleep, you actually should be able to sleep in the bed without hardly moving any covers. Mm-hmm. Your bed almost should look made. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah, that's something else to look for. Night terrors, bedwetting, chronic nasal discharge, which, for years my kids dealt with that. Oh, and then Aaliyah, chronic ear infection. I've had a whole journey with her with that. Dark circles, or they call them allergic black eyes. I think I had nail biting, crooked teeth, frequent ear aches, falling asleep at school. So
the other thing too I would point out that isn't in this list is narrow archways. Because really at the root of a lot of this is tongue tie issues, with that tongue being I just lost the word for it. It starts with an F. Well, it's called a frenectomy, but it's where they detach that little piece of tissue that ties your tongue down. And a lot of kids, it's tied too tight. Mm-hmm. And what happens is their tongue can't go up to the roof of their mouth where it's supposed to naturally sit. And when your tongue's not up in the roof of your mouth, your arch doesn't form as wide as it should, and it stays narrow because it's not making room for that. And so as we grow, then we create these narrow arches that then cause all that tissue to sit back again, and we're into this airway obstruction type thing. So Aaliyah, when you look at her, very narrow arch, and some of that's genetic too.
Very, yeah.
You know, I mean, you have a narrow
Very
arch. That's what we're trying to
narrow,
deal with. Aaliyah has a narrow
Yeah.
arch. That's part of my deal. Is when you look at people with the most beautiful smiles, and you see somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, their smile is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's usually wide.
Yeah.
Like it's usually this very nice curve.
Right.
All kinds of
Like
room.
a Julie Andrews or something. No. No.
I just lost her name. What is?
Why did I say Julie Andrews from The Sound of Music?
No,
she
but
might.
Maybe.
Shoot.
What's her name?
Do you know who I meant?
Yeah, she's in Pretty Woman.
Oh,
What's her name?
Terrible. I mean, literally.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, totally jacked me up.
Well.
Now I can't remember. But yeah, that's what we're. That's what you're looking for, and that's a more natural physiological shape that your mouth is supposed to have to make room for everything. So even looking at your kids, like narrow archway, mouth breathers,
Right.
Just all over the place, squirrely, at
Right.
night, and you come in, you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
That type of stuff are good
Yeah.
signs.
Well, and also, so observing how your child breathes while they sleep is the first thing. And then moving on, having your child, evaluated by a pediatrician or a dental health professional who does screening for any and all forms of, airway health.
Yeah.
That really is your next step. We will have posted in the show notes some really great resources and places you can find local practitioners.
Yeah, but if you're seeing that stuff in your kids, and the first step is like get evaluated.
Yes.
An ENT is even a good idea. Just somebody that understands these things. Now you can take 3D scans and actually see airways and measure the volume.
Right. Normally, I never touch someone else's devices. So I'm going to wash my hands after this and then wash her device. Everyone, okay? Appliance, sorry.
Yeah.
So we're, clean. I don't touch my girl's thing that she slobbers all over. So what we kind of discovered about Aaliyah through her evaluation was that she has some tongue tie, and she is having trouble. Her tongue really never rests on the roof of her mouth, and it needs to. All of ours do, and I actually never knew that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't have room for it. My arch is so narrow. My tongue has never rested up there. And Aaliyah being this device she wears every night, and we kind of joke and we call this the throat tickler, or we just have to come up with fun names. I mean, you have to get your kids to wear this. So the goal is that they touch this little piece. I don't know if you can see that
little tab there.
Little tab. They touch that with their tongue and they practice. And really, it's myofunctional therapy is what we're getting into here. So it's retraining your tongue to do what it's supposed to do. And
and it's helping her keep her mouth shut at night.
Right.
And train her tongue to do the right thing. And
right.
With kids, the issue, the biggest obstacle is just compliance, right? Like getting a 10-year-old to sleep with this in their mouth all night and actually understanding what's going on. And so it's not an entirely here's the solution, but it's a step in the direction of a solution, knowing this is a process that she will help her later on, but it's just going to be a couple steps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then Caden is in Invisalign, and overall he was way better, but just expanding a little bit, moving teeth more into an optimal position. Now that he's lost all of his baby teeth and can kind of set stuff, he's been amazing with compliance.
He's been better than us.
He's better than us. He's just no,
yeah,
I have to wear these.
Yeah, he's just, he could go be in a military. He's very.
And we're about 8 or 9 weeks in, and you can see it already, and it's it looks amazing. I'm like that. I wish my arches looked like that.
We're gonna get them there. So that's kind of the deal with our kids. And let's see. I would recommend just first steps, because listen, we were as overwhelmed as anybody hearing about all of this for the first time. It does feel very overwhelming. You don't know where to begin. This is a great book that I feel that if you are not a practitioner, it's in layman's terms. You can understand it. So I would definitely pick up this book, GASP, and then I put some resources in the show notes for you to go and look up online and find a place where you can go get evaluated And go ahead and DM us if you need any additional resources or like, what do I do? Where do I go? Next steps, because we'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully just kind of get you thinking along those lines. Like I said, lay in bed at night, lay on your back, realize, just be aware of how you're breathing in, push your jaw forward.
Close your mouth.
Yeah, push your lower jaw forward, see if that
Breathe
opens
your
up your
nose.
airway. Check your kids, are they sleeping with their mouth open? Just those types of things, and be aware of it is the first step, and then kind of move towards treatment. So
Right. Yeah. It's doable. We're kind of all in this together, really.
yeah. Because that's episode 18. So glad you're hanging out with us. Obviously, we do these live on Facebook on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, but then we also kick these out to all of your favorite podcast channels, iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. Feel free to go over and subscribe and then get these immediately when they go up. Comment, let us know how you feel about the show.
Guys, get your absentee ballot. I don't think it's too late. You might not know who you're voting for. That's okay. But practice your democratic freedoms.
You're an American.
That's it. I do not represent any party.
All right, guys. We will see you on the next episode.